Hey guys, welcome back to The Outlet Talk. I'm your host, Kayla, and today I'm here with...
Trey. I am a personal trainer. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, and I speak for motivational purposes. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Of course, thank you for coming. So I always like to start things off with an icebreaker. I wanted to ask you, I want to do things a little different, so I'm going to do this or that.
Okay.
I have 3 questions or options to choose from. So the first one I have is a season. Do you prefer summer or winter?
I prefer winter in places that feel like summer all year.
Okay, so in Florida, you like the winter.
I like the winter.
Okay,
yeah.
But if it was a different state, you would not like the winter.
Snow and all that? Nah.
Interesting. Okay, I'm winter all day. It doesn't matter where it is. Winter.
Okay.
I love the colds. I really
Salute
like this
to you.
week. Right, this week that was cold. I was like, yes. I was like, keep it coming.
Okay then.
Next thing is for dessert. Do you prefer ice cream or cake?
Okay, so being a personal trainer, I don't recommend either.
Right.
But I guess we'll say ice cream is more of a comfort food, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Ice cream. Not really. I used to bake cakes, but to eat them constantly, more of an ice cream person. Yeah. And then for a pet, would you rather a cat or a dog?
I'm going to go with a dog. I think a dog can grasp loyalty a little bit better than a cat can.
Yes, I agree. Faylene, something about cats just don't sit right in my spirit.
they for themselves.
Right, exactly. Yeah. They're every man for themselves. I don't, protecting wise, I wouldn't count on a cat.
Yeah,
but I can count on my dog. Like he's so territorial. He feels like this is his house. And if someone else enters that he feels like we don't have the approval of, or he doesn't have the approval of, he's going to go crazy. Like he's barking.
As he should.
Exactly.
As he should.
All right. So we're going to jump right in. I wanted to ask you, can you share a moment, a time in your life when you faced significant uncertainty?
Of course. Before I came to Florida, I'm from Indiana, by the way.
Okay. Before
I came to Florida, I played baseball. I was a college baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came down here and I was getting my master's, I was still training to be a baseball player. And I ran into somebody that liked my performance, and they offered me to play professional in somewhere in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I took the deal. It was a bad deal, though. I left my job, place I stayed, pretty much everything. And when I went down there, of course, it didn't work. And, when you really got passion for something,
right,
you don't look at all the red flags.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got down there, I got hurt, and then I came back, and all I had was bills.
Yeah.
And so effectively, I had to start at zero. And starting at zero for me consisted of living in your car, and you got to kind of figure out everything from square one, pretty much. So I was showering in gyms, and I was, couch surfing with people. But the big thing that I learned from that, because it was a great experience, and it's in a sense of it taught me something. It showed me that change doesn't have your location. It doesn't have a bus. It don't come to you. You really got to go make your change. There was some advice I got in that time frame. Somebody said, what's for you will come to you. And for me, it didn't work like that. You got to get up and go make your change. It even said in the Bible, seek my kingdom. You got to go seek God. Seek is a verb. That means you got to take action. You got to go reflect. You got to read. You got to talk to people. You got to learn. Do all these different things. And if that's the best thing we can get in our lives,
right,
what makes you think anything of value is going to come to you? You know what I mean? I had to learn that firsthand, and I'm truly grateful because he isolated me to speak to me. And it got me here. And now I'm speaking now for motivational purposes, like I said, and I'm going to continue to speak. That's why I do my messages on YouTube and everything. We're going to keep getting better.
Wow. That's really powerful. And I think you said something that I wanted to sit on for a little bit. The simple fact that change doesn't have a location. And for me, change was like scary for me. I avoided change. But the crazy thing is I would throw myself into change as a coping mechanism. I gave like a little bit of testimony is like discipline is and consistency is something that I thrive in or that just was my coping mechanism. When I was younger, my most successful moments was my most depressed time. And so everyone's just like, you're doing great. You're doing great. Yeah. But in my heart, I'm I'm really suffering. And you said the Lord had to isolate you in order for him to speak to you. And that's a theme that he does, right? Is even when I'm thinking about the Israelites, when they were enslaved by the Egyptians, and I think it was Abraham, Moses. Is it Moses? Moses. brings him out.
Yeah. You got it right.
Moses brings him out. He sends Moses. He first of all, they're enslaved. Moses is born. The way that's Moses' story even happens, calls Moses to go and take the Israelites out of Egypt. When they come out of Egypt, they don't come out of Egypt and then they're just living lavishly. No, they're coming out of Egypt and they go into the wilderness. They're on this journey to go to the promised land. Mm-hmm. In this journey, it's isolation. There's no food, there's no water. So they're literally depending solely on God to make it from day to day.
Exactly.
The Lord, sends manna from heaven down on earth from the sky. And he tells them not to store any manna like for themselves overnight. I think that's important thing to notice is because he was teaching the Israelites like dependence on him, like depend on me, like don't store anything, depend on me. And so when he said like the Lord isolated you to speak to you, that's what I remembered. I'm like, yeah, when you are going, the thing is, and he'll let you go on and thinking that you're doing like, because you're thinking, oh yeah, like I have this great deal, like I'm going to go and I'm gonna do it. And it's like, had you sought the Lord's, advice or, Lord, should I go? Should I not go? He would have told you, don't go. This is not a good deal. Right. But you went out of the passion, not to, fault you or anything. Right. We as humans, we do it all the time. We do. Our passions lead us, but we have to remember there's something greater that we must seek. And you said it, we must seek the kingdom of God first. Mm-hmm. Once we seek the kingdom of God, everything else, like the word says, will be added onto us. So success, financial, financial peace or financial literacy, all those things will be added after. Mm-hmm. And so that's a powerful testimony. And I think that'll motivate a lot of people.
I'll even add something onto that. Mm-hmm. Because we all got a passion. Mm-hmm. They call it a calling on your life. But a calling is a calling, which means you have to go to it. Mm-hmm. It's not going to necessarily walk to you. But on this path, when you're taking this path to your calling, there's two voices that you hear. Mm-hmm. You hear the one that's telling you to go straight. That's the one, the vision. Mm-hmm. And then you hear the other voice that's a little bit more comfortable, and more soothing. And that one's always closer. Mm-hmm. And what you gotta have God in your life because he's going to tell you to go this way. If you try to do it on your own, this voice is going to be louder to you because it's closer. Mm-hmm. Y'all ever seen a bear trap? When you go to that, right when you get there to that voice, it gets you. Mm-hmm. And some people are blessed enough to have a second chance, and a lot of people don't get a second chance. A lot of people live in a one mistake that they did. There's people right now that had one relationship that went wrong, and they never healed from it. Mm-hmm. They're trauma based. There's people out here that had one bad job and they've been there for 20 years. They never got out of it. Yeah. You need God to have strength to roll over, get off your back and keep going. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like I said, I seen it firsthand, and now everything is moving along way better. But I told myself and I told God, if I get out of it, I'm gonna start talking.
Right. Amen. That's good. And so he's like, all right, I'm gonna hold you to your word. And now you're talking.
And this is how I knew, because when we made this deal, 2 weeks later, I was out of there.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was in there for just about 2 years.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Yep. My next question for you would be, how did you initially respond to that season of uncertainty? What was your first reaction? Was there any pushback, anger, frustration?
I was very frustrated. Mm-hmm. I'm very frustrated at the time because just as people in general, you hold yourself to high regard. You call yourself kings, queens, whatever. But on a daily, when I look around, I'm not living like a king. You know what I mean? A lot of negativity when you're by yourself. Matter of fact, the positivity that I had, I was saving it for people at work so people wouldn't know that I was really going through this stuff. But the more and more I was living through it, the more and more I felt like I got stronger. Mm-hmm. I felt like I got wiser. I felt like I was learning more and more. And I was able to talk to people even more then, just because I was growing through it. So I really just continued to hold on to my faith, build it up as much as I can. I remember people that you love call you and ask if everything is okay. And you tell them, yeah, initially. I kind of felt like I put myself in this situation. I got to take myself out.
Right.
And I was leaning on myself, but right when I leaned on God, it changed. Mm-hmm. It pushed me to another level, and I couldn't be more grateful for it.
Was there any moment where you were doubtful or scared that you may not come out on the other side?
I'm gonna paint an illustration for you so you can hear what I'm saying even a little better. Do you remember the old movies? They were like Indiana Jones movies, the movies where people would go inside these pyramids or these tombs and search for treasure, whatever the case is, and if they step wrong, a booby trap would come out and can kill them. Okay, so 80% of that was movie makeup. the real things, when the people would make these pyramids, what they would do to get people, they would make a lot of false passageways and empty chambers. And what they were trying to do is the people that would sneak in there or whatever, they would run into one of these empty chambers and think nothing's here, or they would get involved in these passageways that were so confusing to follow, they would want to go back and go home. But what we got to understand is that when the path seems its most confusing and it's hardest to follow, that is the same indication that you're extremely close to what you set out for. And they knew that 1,000 years ago. They knew people would be more likely to turn around and go home. So when your path seems like truly, truly hard to follow, that's the same thing of God saying, just hold on. Just keep stepping forward. I got you. But we got to see it like that. Right. We don't see it like that. Oftentimes we'll look at it like, oh, it's not for us. But the path is going to be harder. It say that with God. Like you take the long road, the high road, or what they would say. The high road is the road that gets you actually to where you're supposed to be, not the short road. So
that's true. I like that. And I think, like, especially because I am a person who I thrive also off of the results, because I know that if you're disciplined and you're consistent equals results. Very true. So when I don't see the results, it literally would frustrate me. Or if I see that I'm still in the season where like it's uncertain and I'm feeling it's a little rocky, I'm like, God, but I'm disciplined, but I'm consistent. Like, what's happening? I'm not understanding. Like, why am I not getting the results? And so, like, what you just said, it just reminded me. It's like, keep going, keep that discipline, keep that consistency. And it's going, like, at some point when you're leaning on God, you're literally going to come out on the other side. And so I always look at life as like one long tunnel. And I think sometimes when we focus on how dark and how long the tunnel, it makes it longer in our head. Very true. So we get discouraged and we're like, I want to go back. And so, but if you're trusting and hoping on God and knowing that he authors every step, and that if I allow him to guide me, that he would be able to lead me on the other side, and have faith in that, that we'll end up on the other side. And like you said, the road's not going to be easy. We were not promised an easy life at all. Like, I don't know when it switched the narrative in our brains, where when we thought, oh, like it's supposed to be easy. Like at some point it's just going to be, suns, skies, sunsets, sunrises, beautiful. Yeah. Life is, there's going to be some high moments, but there's also going to be some valleys. In order for, a mountain to go up, it had to come from a place out of a valley first, and then it goes up. Then there's that, peak down again and up. So I look at life as literally mountains and hills. I'm like, yeah, at some point, once you get to that mountain, guess what? You got to come back down and go back up again. So with every high season, there's a valley to match it.
And God doesn't answer questions how we think it should be answered. Like the way he thinks and everything is way beyond our understanding. Right. So for example, if somebody say, oh, I want a partner or whatever, God might answer, okay, you want a partner? Stop smoking and drinking. You're like, what you mean? Well, if you stop smoking and drinking, now you're not going to have interest in going to these places where people are looking at you for a different thing.
Right.
Now you want to go to somewhere like, I don't know, a gym,
right,
or a library, something like that actually help you better yourself. And now you meeting people that want to better themselves. Right. Now you can grow. You lost weight, all this different stuff. And now you run into that person that's really for you. You don't answer the questions like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes more sense. And I like the illustration you put. It's like true. It's like you ask God or ask God a question. He's not going to tell you, oh, okay, yep, it's right here. Boom. No, he brings you along this journey. He brings you along this season that's going to birth the thing that the very thing that you're asking for. And so a lot of people, like you said, they're asking for partners, but what in your life, is creating that atmosphere for a successful relationship. And if you feel like you are at that season, because we're not perfect, what are some other things that you can work on spiritually? What are other things that you can work on personally? Because again, like we all come with a certain lens from life, right? Because we're all born in a family. We all raised different. We have, different models of what a relationship is supposed to look like. This even just for life. We all come from a different foundation. And my therapist said this. She said, we all have a toolbox, and whatever our parents have in their toolbox, they give us so that we can put in our toolbox. At some point, as you get older, you realize I have a wrench and a hammer, but I need a screwdriver, but I need a drill. I don't have a screwdriver and I don't have a drill. Some people are forced to try to make the screwdriver and the hammer work for their lives. Other people go seek that knowledge to get the drill, to get the screwdriver. Exactly. And so that's what we have to remember, just always seeking knowledge. I always say, like, there's these 3 things that I do in life. It's God first, knowledge, and therapy. Those are my, like, literally, like, solution. I don't know if it's like the perfect equation in my head.
That's help you level up though. That's help you level up though.
Like, seek knowledge, learn, always be a student in life. We're not masters. Like, we're all striving for mastery, but reality is we won't ever become a master, because when we think we're a master, there's another level that we can reach. There's always more that we can literally tackle. So that's, something else that I have for you. What role did your faith play in helping you navigate that time?
My faith consisted of me constantly praying, of course, and constantly believing that this wouldn't last too long. I think when you kind of go through that process, especially letting it be years, you kind of don't know when it's going to change. You kind of don't know if it's ever going to change. You know what I mean? So you get to a point where you embrace it. And I think when you embrace it, that shows your real faith. Like, you know what? I'm here for a reason. Right. Let me just be down here, learn, and do my thing. And when I started to do that is when I slowly started to ease out of it. I think what people do when they go through these tough times, they lie to themselves and say, oh, you know, maybe, nah. You there. Right. You're there, and you're there for a reason. Try to get the lesson out of it. And right when I started to do that, I got out of it. I learned. You know, I was down there for a reason. I was there to learn, like I said, get isolated and grow within my faith and just who I am. I will say something. It's kind of funny because we just talking about sci-fi movies. When I was young, my favorite kind of movies was the apocalypse zombie movies because they kind of all start out the same. Like, different people from different backgrounds, they come together, they do their thing, whatever. When the apocalypse hit, they go to some type of safe place, right? And everything is cool. They learn to coexist with this thing until one day they reach their last bottle of water, right? Or their last loaf of bread, whatever it is, and they look at each other and say, we can't stay here. If we stay here, we're going to die here. And that's when I used to say as a kid, now the movie about to start. Because this is when your character development comes in. Now we see which character going to live to the end, which character going to die early, who going to do this, and that was my character development right there. Right. And there's some people that are going through something right now, and they never... They stayed there when it was like, all right, we got to get out of here. They just stayed. And if you stay, you miss out on your call and your passion. God makes a way for everybody to have everything you want, everything in your heart and everything in your mind. You're supposed to get it. That's why it's put there. But are you willing to get up and take the risk to do it? That shows your real faith if you're willing to take the risk. We can sit down and talk about how many times you go to church, but who's going to say, okay, everything I learned, take it with me and apply take the risk. Who's going to do that? But the people that do that, they get everything they're supposed to get. Money, financially, emotionally, spiritually, socially. That's the people that make it to the finish line. And that's why I always recommend take the risk, even if it's tough. You know, you got God with you. That's really all you need. Right. You know? Right. Because once if you have him, everything is going to literally come. Like, that's, you don't even have to worry about not having anything, because he says it in his word. Even if he dresses the lilies, if he makes sure the food, the birds find food to eat, every animal is fine. Like, animals aren't thinking about tomorrow. Animals aren't thinking about anything that they need for the next day. If he makes sure that they have it, what more can you trust? Gotcha. Do you want to fix it? Sorry, because I was just like, gotcha. Good. It's okay. But yeah, so this wasn't on here, but I had a question. Have you found yourself back at that space again where you felt like you were in a season where it was, I don't want to call it a low, but like, have you been back at that point again since that moment? I think when you go through a moment like that, you don't look at it as a low anymore. You know there's learning and wisdom that comes out of it. So you kind of treat it like almost like a lesson. Almost. I haven't been to a situation like that. But now when you go through something like that, nothing else can really hit you. Right. At least at the point in stage of my life where I'm at right now. Nothing can really beat me down like how that did. I think if my mindset is that I'm going to get through it regardless, and I'm going to keep God close and know that everything is going to work out, it's no low no more. It's kind of funny because even when I was down there, I didn't feel like I was going to this was my ending. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, it's another part of my life. Let me keep going, another stage of my life. So I have not been down there though.
That's good.
I don't think I'll ever think of it like I'm down there. You know what I mean?
All right. How can maintaining physical health be seen as an act of spiritual and mental discipline?
I would say it's hard to have a strong mind without a strong body. That'd be the first thing. When you can't really control how you move, how can you really control how you thinking? You know, because everything will be based on what's around you. You can't really like make your own certain moves. So I think faith ties in with that too, because there's discipline in working out, which is the same as discipline with the faith. Because you're gonna have days where you're low. You're gonna have days where you don't want to go to church. You're gonna have days where you don't want to talk about God. You don't want to pray, but you have to have discipline. You gotta have discipline to talk and be like, yo, all right, God, I need you. And it's the same thing with the gym. It's gonna be days you get off work and you like, you know what?
Right.
I'll see the gym next week or whatever the case is. But we know what's best for your body.
Right.
You got to go to that gym. Even if you're there walking, whatever the case is, you got to go. It's the best thing for your heart, especially people with kids and all that kind of stuff. Kids need you.
Right.
So it's the same thing. Just that discipline as a whole is something that's healthy for people.
That's good. And I can even like kind of relate, because it's like at some point with discipline, what I've noticed is like when the best time, I think we were talking about it, the best time to do it is when you don't feel like doing it.
Really, for real.
If you want to grow in discipline, go, because one, you told yourself that you were going to go. So make sure you keep that promise with yourself. You build self-trust as well too. People always say, oh, you know, I have trust issues. Oh no, you have the trust issues is the root that you don't trust yourself. That's what trust issues is really rooted in.
I agree with that.
As I've come to, you know, get older is, or even just my passion for psychology, I realized, oh no, the deep root of that is literally the trust that you don't trust yourself. So if I tell myself I'm going to wake up, I make sure that I wake up, because I'm keeping a promise to myself. I'm learning to trust myself, and whatever trust issues that I may encounter in the future, I won't, because I trust myself to make the right decisions.
Right.
And then for discipline as well too, like it fosters discipline because I'm doing it because I said I would do it. And even if I don't want to do it, I'm still going to do it. And then something that I always tell people is like, yes, it's good to have motivation. It's good to be motivated. You know, the new year, we just entered a new year. So everyone's like, you know, I'm going to start my fitness journey, and they're feeling motivated. That motivation ride is not going to last that long, because you're not going to feel motivated every time. Like you just said, after work, you're going to come in and be like, man, today I'm really tired. I'm more tired than I was yesterday. I don't want to go to the gym. That motivation is gone in that moment.
Right.
And so if you let your motivation be the determining factor, whether you're going to go to the gym in that moment or not, you're not going to the gym,
right? Because
you're not motivated to go.
And it also breeds confidence in yourself.
Yes.
Which also ties into being confident in God. You know, when things happen a certain way, you got to be confident in God that He would make the change for you, and He would be there for you. It got to be the same with your body,
right?
Because how confident can you be if you don't like the way you look in the mirror?
Right.
You trying on different clothes, trying to make you gotta go to the gym and build confidence in yourself. Because then that's going to help the way you speak. That's going to help the way you look at life. And that's going to help the way you pray.
Yep, you know? That's so true. And even for discipline, you can pray and ask God for discipline.
You can pray and ask God for discipline. And you're going to get some. You're going to get some situations. Be careful what you pray for now. You're going to get some situations to where He's going to be like, all right, you want discipline?
Right.
Here you go. Let's see it. But definitely asking God for discipline is a key to winning in your life and getting your success for sure.
And even now, like I've noticed my prayers have changed. I'm not asking God for things necessarily, but character, things to develop me in character. So I'm asking God, give me wisdom, give me discipline, give me, help me to live above reproach. So that I'm left, blameless. Help me to be the same person when I'm at this place and at this place. So I'm consistent in my character. Right. And then I noticed that, like you said, I'm put in situations to grow that character development. And so even patience, I used to pray for patience all the time, and would be wondering why I'm in a situation where I'm like patience. I feel like patience is being forced out of me because I asked God to give me patience. Right. And in order to practice patience, you have to be in a situation where you have to be patient.
And that's another thing too. One of my prayers, because you was telling me what you pray for, one of my prayers is I always pray to God to protect me from myself. Protect me from the flesh and my thoughts or whatever the case is, because even if I'm praying for discipline, I would pray to protect me from that, because if I'm undisciplined, I won't do what I'm supposed to do, what I'm set out to do. So I always try to protect from ourselves. Everybody, we all got flesh. We all got different things that we got going on that makes us steer off the path. So if you can get protection from yourself, you can get the real you and get where you're supposed to go.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
And through that, you're empowered, and you're given the power to literally deny your flesh every single day, like the Bible calls us to do, to literally every day deny that flesh. Like, do not, what does my brother say? He always says, it's delayed gratification, delayed gratification. Not everything that your flesh wants in that moment you should do. And that also is something that I encourage people to do. Like, do not satisfy it. Listen, you can crush that. You don't have to be bound to the things that your flesh wants, because not everything your flesh wants is good for you in that moment.
Majority of it's not
right.
good. If we being honest, majority of it's not good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most of the time it steers us off the path for that God has for us.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, so what do you think, if you have an opinion or a definition that you can give, what is the difference between joy and happiness?
I think happiness is more of an outer shell feeling. And I think it's not a long lasting feeling.
Yes.
Like, for example, I could take us all out to get some food right now, and we'll be happy for a little while. But I think joy, you can have joy in some of your toughest moments. For example, there could be a dad, he works through the holidays and he's working long shifts and jobs that he hates. But his joy in that moment is that my kids gonna get everything they want for Christmas. Or my kids gonna be straight, whatever, the bills is good, the lights is on. That's his joy. I think joy is more of a deeper feeling. It's more of a feeling where it lasts a long time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rather than just being happy. Happiness is fleeting.
Right.
It's here today, gone tomorrow. It continues to do that. It's like a cycle. But joy lasts a very long time.
That's true. And I'd even add to that too, is like joy, even if someone told me the worst news I could possibly hear right now, I can still access joy because it's a deep within thing and it's long lasting. Whereas happiness, right? Like you said, if you take us out right now, we're all going to be happy. But the minute someone tells us something bad,
now you back. Yeah.
My happiness is gone in that moment. And I'm sad, angry, whatever, frustrated. So when I brought that question up because I feel like in this generation we are, or what I've noticed, because not me, maybe not you either, but I noticed that in society, people are seeking after happiness. I want to be happy. I want to be happy. I'm seeking happiness. And I'm like, the reason why you keep having to seek happiness is because you're seeking an emotion that is constantly fleeting. And I think also too, we cannot create happiness. Joy is a fruit of the Spirit. Joy is something that the Lord has to literally like give you, because in your circumstance, you're not going to immediately think, I want to be joyful right now. No, it's hard. It's raining. It feels rough. Like I'm in the toughest time, but the Lord, if you remember what the word says, like James says, consider it pure joy when you are experiencing trials, because it's the testing of endurance for your faith. I'm sure I butchered that verse, but that's, yeah, something along those lines.
Shout out Dre.
Right. But like, it's something that the Lord gives us. It's a gift from God. Joy is a gift. Joy is a gift. Self-control is a gift. Patience is a gift. All of those fruit of the spirits are gifts from the Holy Spirit. And so I think like when we're trying to chase these emotions, we'll hit a roadblock because we're chasing an emotion that is fleeting and not something that can last long, not a fruit, right? So that's something
and I also think when you're chasing happiness, it's always something that's not, it's like a short-term thing. Like if we find happiness in something that's short-term, how valuable can it be? Anything with value it's hard to get. You know what I mean? So joy is kind of hard to get because it's such a deep feeling. Happiness is right on the outside. Joy, you got to go in. You got to go in and actually get joy, which is one of the big things that God talks about. So I search for joy. I try to search for joy in things, especially going through the thing that I went through. So I definitely don't recommend anybody searching for happiness, but definitely look into the Bible for joy.
And let's see. I also have, so what is one piece of encouragement you'd leave with the listeners about trusting God and finding joy?
Take risk. I have a saying that I say, you can either fall in love with the process or fall in love with watching. but based on what you choose is going to decide your options. So however you step in, whatever you're going to do, are you going to take the risk and do things, or are you going to be on the side? But whatever you choose is going to decide where you at. So for example, if we talk about somebody that might be messing up in life or whatever the case is, but they're taking risk, that's still a stat line. We can still go to the people and get a stat sheet. That alone shows that you in the game. The people that are not taking a risk, the people that are on the side, they can't talk to you. You know what I mean? The process of your process is going to be taking a risk, taking a risk. So I would always tell everybody, take a risk in your life. That's going to help build your faith. And not only that, it's going to help build your character and build who you are and get where you're supposed to be.
Right. I like that. And then I'd like to add, like, trust God and seek the kingdom. Whenever you are doing anything, ask the Lord, and he answers you. Not like you said, not in a way that you may want it to be. He's not going to just drop money from the sky. I know some people are asking for money. It's like, yeah, you're asking the Lord for money, but you got to get a job so you can get that money.
And that's what he would say.
So it's just like, we can't just ask him for the solution without the process, like you were saying. And so when you fall in love with the process, you're literally going to grow in a way that is unimaginable and make God the center of your life, and everything else is going to follow.
And I'm in agreement.
I just want to say thank you again for coming. If you could tell the viewers where they could find you on social media, how
Most
can
definitely.
they book you as a trainer? You know, like.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Follow me at Crown Recovery. That's on Instagram. If you're looking for a trainer or anything like that, you can always DM. For messages and everything, I put my messages out on YouTube as Muddy Crowns. That's the alias, at Muddy Crowns. I put all my messages where I talk to people. I don't sit in front of a camera and I actually talk to people one-on-one, so they can get the real feel, everything. So follow me. I appreciate y'all for having me. Thank you so much. Of course.
Don't forget, guys, to follow The Outlet Talk on Instagram at The Outlet Talk. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at KXMyRenee, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.
This is The Outlet Talk, created by yours truly, picture and sound by Dre, music by Louis Amar.